Hello, how's everybody doing? I thank you, Lead Worshipers, thanks for leading us. I love that song. Everybody, I hear that song. No matter where I'm at, it almost just translates. I know that as Aaron said in Revelation, it says that they are singing this constantly before the throne room. And every time I hear that song, I feel like I'm linked, I'm kind of connected with what's happening all the time. And I love to know that because when I sing that song, it gives me comfort and peace. And when we walk this earth, we have ups and downs, bright days, dark days, hard times, easy times. Yet with God, we know in heaven that the song is never stopping. And that God is always on His throne. And He'll always see us through. So I just love that. So welcome to Raise. If this is your first time, we are so excited. We're going through a series called Legends. And it's kind of been all summer long. It's kind of halfway through the summer. Although our kids kind of got gypped on summer. They had to go back early. But for the rest of us, we're happy that we're going back to school soon. But our teacher, and I'm sorry for any teacher who have to go to school. I saw Andrew smiling like, if you're quiet. But this is the middle of summer. We have about 5 weeks left of our legends. We've been going through them. And the reason we've been focusing on legends is because we're going to look at people in the Old Testament, see their stories. And our goal has been, in these stories, to kind of join in with the moments that really define them. I mean, if you look at the Old Testament and follow the stories of these characters, some of them are chapters, some of these are books long. We're not going to take that much time. We're going to look at the moments that really define them, the moments that made them legendary. And here's the purpose of it. Maybe you grew up in church and you heard these stories as a kid, as I did. Or maybe this is the kind of first time you've really been at church and you're kind of hearing these stories for the first time. A heart of these stories is this, that we'll learn truths that they lived in their life so that you and me, that we can take those truths and apply it to our lives. Because you guys heard us say many times that our heart here, and one of our core values is that what we talk about on Sundays doesn't just stay there. We want you to be able to apply it on the rest of your week. We want you to live out your faith. And so we want to take these truths because we need to live legendary lives for God. And what's cool, and I'm going to point out as we go through the day, it doesn't take uncommon people to be legendary, to live legendary lives. It takes common people following God. And my heart is that we are a people that move out in every winding circles to live legendary lives for God so that they can see Jesus in us, and through that they meet Him. I had that opportunity, and thank you, church and people Radius, because you helped us get there. We went to Ecuador this last week. I flew back all Sunday, I'm so tired, all Friday night we flew back, got back home yesterday around 11, and it was phenomenal. And what I saw was, yes, I know that my relationship with God is in St. Pete. We're called the St. Pete, but God's in Ecuador. He is the King that has no borders. And we went to these villages. I mean, they were in the middle of nowhere villages up high in the Andes. And we'd be there, and we'd be singing about Jesus. We'd be telling people, and Jesus was there. You saw Him moving and interacting through people, and you could see kids hearing maybe the story of Jonah and learning about God and His forgiveness. And it's so cool as Rihanna last week, and Rihanna did an awesome job. And so if you see her, make sure you say thank you. Awesome job sharing the story of Jonah, one of our legends. We decided, you know what, while we'll miss that Sunday, we're going to take it all week. And so we talked to the kids in these Andes villages 3 or 4 hours out into the middle of nowhere and shared Jonah and shared the story of grace. And so I want to first of all thank you for that. It was an amazing time. We brought everybody back. So yay for that. All right. So we didn't lose anybody. If you see someone in a shirt like this, this is for our team shirts. We went down there. Ask them. I'd love for you to get to know, hear their story of their experience in Ecuador. You say, man, I saw you guys. I saw the pictures. I wanted to be there. Here's good news. We're going back next year. All right. If you're interested in coming next July, we'll be going back there for a mission trip. It's a great time. The biggest adjustment I had was 8,500 feet. All right, that was an adjustment of air breathing. And so, besides that, it was a great time. Thank you for praying for us. Thank you for allowing us to go. But we are glad to be back, and we want to continue with our legends. And so, today, as each week of the summer of our legend, we ask for an art piece to be made. And Andy Rome, Andy, raise your hand in the back. He is an art piece. Make sure you check it out. It's awesome. He early on said, you got any ideas or you need suggestions? Because he's a great artist. He didn't really need to tell you an idea. If you got any suggestions, like, man, just go with it. And he said, there'll be lots of fire. And I'm like, perfect. There we go. So it's a great thing. Check it out. We have an artist each week doing a piece for each legend. And so There we go. Are going to find a story. It's one of my favorite legends of Elijah and who he is and how he lived his life. I really always connected with, and especially in the story of Elijah, the good story part. We're in 1 Kings, by the way. 1 Kings 18. If you have a Bible with you today, you can open up there. If you don't have a word, we can put it on the screen. You can follow along. We're in 1 Kings 18. And especially this part of the story is one of my favorites. One of the last youth groups that I had the privilege to lead, it was kind of one of our theme stories about that. And so Elijah is a story that I love. So we're going to start 1 Kings 18. We're going to move through the story. And here's my heart, man. As we move through the story, we're going to give some truth, some nuggets, that we can live lives just as legendary as Elijah. And so we start in verse 18 of chapter 18. And we're going to start reading, and we'll go from there. Let me jump there real quick, because I'm not there myself. 1 Kings 18. Here we go. All right. Now, let me give you a little background. I'm sorry, I'm going to read this first. Let me give you a little background. All right? It jumps right into the little story. Elijah the prophet. Elijah came to Israel. Now, Israel, as we guys know, under David, and Abraham was the father. A couple weeks. Israel is now split. They had a kind of a civil war, and it's Judah and Israel. And as you may or may not know, Israel was made up of 12 different tribes and kind of formed the nation of Israel. 10 of the tribes kind of split away, and 2 of the tribes, and the 2 tribes are from Judah now, and there's another, in Israel, their name, and there's 10 tribes. You all with me? There was civil war in Israel. They split 10 and 2. Judah was the smaller of 2 tribes, the other 10 tribes of Israel, right? So Israel had a list of kings. Both of them started having kings, and some of the kings were good, but a lot of the kings of both of these, Judah and Israel, were bad kings. They did not worship God. And so God began to send prophets to kind of warn Israel to come back to God. Now we find Elisha is one of those prophets. And early on in this chapter, I encourage you maybe when you get home to read the entire chapter, or maybe read the chapters around it, because it's a really great story. Elisha, God tells Elijah to go to King Ahab. He's the king of the time, a really bad king. His wife named Jezebel. She was such a bad queen that we still have a bad connotation with Jezebel. I don't think any of you guys are deciding to name, you have a daughter, you name her Jezebel. If you are, hey, God give you grace and all that. But it's just a name that just carries on, because Jezebel was just an evil character and brought a lot of false Baal worship, and we're going to learn about that in a second, into Israel. And really, Ahab followed her lead, and it was a horrible situation, and he was just a horrible king. Well, God tells Elijah to go to Ahab. This is kind of a background. It says, hey, go tell the king it's not going to rain until I say so. And so that's what happens. It dries up. There's no rain. And in the beginning of this chapter, God tells Elijah, go back now. It's about 3 years with no rain, and the culture is very agriculture. That's a big deal. The nation was very much in suffering. To go back now, tell them it's going to rain. And so when he is going to meet the king Ahab, Ahab is not happy, obviously. And so here's where we jump in the story. Y'all with me now? We all good? All right, got a little history? There we go. All right. Or it says, and he calls Ahab sees him in the verse 4 that says, you are the troublemaker of Israel. In 18, Elijah said, I have made no trouble for Israel. Elijah replied, you and your family are the troublemakers. So you refuse to obey the commandments of the Lord and have worshipped the images of Baal instead. Now summon all the Israel to me at Mount Carmel, along with the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah, who are supported by Jezebel. Let me give you a little more history. Who are Baal and Asherah? Baal is and first of all, it's just a common name among that time in the Semitic area, which meant Lord. It was kind of the supreme God, and many different nations and tribes worship different types of Baal, but overall Baal was a false god that was worshipped, and most cultures saw him as a storm god, as a god of fertility, and as a god that needed and demanded at times children's sacrifice. They burned their firstborn and lay them and burn them as a sacrifice. This god Baal. And Asherah in that culture and belief was kind of his sister, also his lover, and she was also known as the god of fertility, and made sure that if you make her happy and sacrifice to her, then you would have children. And so it's this kind of combo package that Israel has brought in with Jehovah God, the one that they serve, the one true God, and they've been bringing that into this culture, and the king and queen of God have been pushing that. And Elijah's like, look, we gotta solve this thing. Look, you guys are worshiping this false god, and so there's kind of what I call the showdown on Mount Carmel. I love this story because Elijah is kind of I'm going to say it right now, he's kind of a punk in this thing, man. He says some things you're like, wow, I can't believe that's in the Bible. So we move forward. If you guys are wondering what that's going to be. He said, now bring these prophets and all these. We're going to have a showdown on Mount Carmel. So Ahab summoned all the people of Israel and the prophets to Mount Carmel. Then Elisha stood in front of them and said, how much longer will you waver, hobbling between two opinions? If the Lord is God, then follow him. But if Baal is God, then follow him. But the people were completely silent. I was reading that, and it made me think about really maybe where you're at, maybe where our culture's at. They're silent. People are confused. Who really is God? I mean, everybody's got their opinion on who God is, and everybody's got this idea and this religious philosophy, and these people are sitting there. They are undecided. They have been told from their history, from their past, and from their childhood that Jehovah was God, but now these new gods are coming, this Baal worship's coming in, and they're sitting there, and they're wavering between two. Who is the one we're supposed to serve? Who is the one that's truly God? I find it interesting, first of all, that is maybe where you find yourself, or maybe where you know people around you are this way, but there definitely in our world are people who are seeking to find what's true, trying to find what is the true sort of who God is, and they're wavering, and they're confused. There's another part there. It says that if God be God, then follow him, and if Baal be God, follow him. I think it's interesting. Elijah begins to tell the people, as he gathers all the people on this Mount Carmel, he says, look, whoever you decide is God, just don't make some kind of mental choice. Yeah, I know that's my God. Follow him. He makes the point, like, if you're going to say Jehovah is God, if you're going to say he's God, then follow him. If you're going to say Baal is God, then follow him. Don't stand in the middle, just kind of balancing out and hoping that, hey, kind of ride the fence and we'll figure out then what happens. And for me in my life, I take that as like, you know what, Blake? I can say with my lips who I say God is. But until I choose to follow him in my life, I'm just kind of sitting here wavering between two opinions. Am I going to allow to be me, myself, God in my life? I want my way, I want my things, I want to do my way. Or am I going to submit to God? If I say that Jesus Christ is God, that he, Jehovah, God Father is my God, and that's the one I'm going to serve, I'm going to serve him. I need to follow him with my life. And so Elijah kind of steps into me and says, look, today, and I'll tell us sitting here today, man, if you're wavering and you're confused, man, just sit here. As Rob said earlier, our heart is to hear from God. And we use the word God lightly because our generally a lot of times we use the word Baal. God, we talk about when we believe who God here is, we believe he is Jehovah, who he said he was when he spoke to Abraham, Isaac, when he spoke to Moses in the burning bush. And Moses said, who are you? And he said, I am who I am, Jehovah God. And we believe, just kind of little parentheses as we go through this message, that we believe Jehovah God came in the person of Jesus Christ on the earth. And he lived a life perfect as a human. And he died and took our place and paid for our sins. And then we accept Jesus as our Savior. We don't just accept this as forgiveness. We are called to follow him. And so as I talk about God today, and we talk about all these different Baal and Jehovah, I wanted to kind of give a little key in the side box over there. Y'all with me? Is that clear? When we talk about God, we're talking about Jehovah God. We're talking about Jehovah God. When we're talking about Jesus, we're talking about that same Jehovah God who came in flesh and lived among us. All right? So we move forward. So Elijah's calling this mountaintop, and there's times, there's stories, I don't know about you, but if I read the Bible, sometimes I read these stories, and I really wish I were there. Like just to sit there and watch what was happening. This is one of those stories. And Elijah seems to have a little dramatic flair about it. All right, he kind of likes to put a show. He's like, all right, guys, we're going to go to the top of the mountain, Mount Carmel. We come there. We're going to have this showdown. We're going to see who the God is. And so he brings him. And he says, hey, quit wavering between two opinions. If God, Jehovah, is God, then serve him. If Baal is God, then serve him. So we move forward. And they were silent because I think a lot of them were either confused or waiting to see. And so we keep moving forward. Next verse, and so I'm going to move ahead to the passage here. This is verse 22. Then Elijah said to them, I am the only prophet of the Lord who is left, but Baal has 450 prophets. Now, here's the test. Now bring 2 bulls, the prophet of Baal may choose whichever one they want and wish, and cut it to pieces, and lay it on the wood altar, but without setting fire to it. And I will prepare the other bull and lay it on the wood altar, but not set fire to it. Then call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of the Lord. The God who answers by setting fire to the wood is the true God, and all the people agree. I think it's interesting. Elijah comes and says, okay, now we're just going to settle this. Make it pretty simple. We're going to build this altar up on this mountain. Baal, you pick your sacrifice, your ox, and you cut it up, put it on the altar, and I will do the same. Now the only difference is we're not going to light it. We're going to let the one true God light it. All right. Now what's interesting is it's kind of like you heard. This is Baal, God's wheelhouse. You know what I'm talking about? This like Baal was pictured and was known as having a lightning bolt in his hand. This was the Baal god that was known as the storm, which is interesting. He was the storm god that had rained 3 years. They were really frustrated with Baal already. He hadn't shown up for 3 years. And now he is the guy that has a lightning bolt in the hand for someone to throw fire down and light them. Then it should be his game, right? He's like, oh man, we're setting up for Baal to show up, man. And so Elijah says, you go first. And it's interesting that people are like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. We're going to see who shows up. Because here's the fact of the matter. People who are undecided, who are not following yet, who aren't committed yet, want to see a tangible God. Elijah says, look, we'll make it tangible. We're going to make it real. We're going to help you as you're deciding who should I serve, who is the true God. The one that sets fire to this altar is the one true one. And all people are like, yeah, I like that. The same is true inside. Now, we're not going to build an altar and put some calf on top of here and ask God to light the fire. But God has told us in the 1 Corinthians that we are the body of Christ. And see, the world has a hard time believing the God that they cannot see, because the people who they say they know God, they don't see God in them. You follow me? The people want to see a tangible God. And so when the Bible talks in the New Testament that we are the body of Jesus, that we are His hands and feet, that's why it's there. We need to be, as you heard us say on a regular basis, we want to make a tangible difference in our community. We move out ever widening circles to change our world. The way we do that is by showing tangible love in real ways. Whether it's making a love lunch, whether it's going out and taking someone in your community, in your neighborhood, at your workspace, your friends, showing love in a tangible way. Because people need to see a tangible God. And as 1 Corinthians said, we are the hands and feet of Jesus. So we who say we believe and follow God, we have the opportunity to be His tangible difference in this world. If we aren't following Him, then we're not being tangible. If we're not being tangible and showing love, people are not seeing Jesus. So it's very important to us. I don't know if you grew up in church, but I did. And my church experience, for the most part, especially as a young child and as a teenager, was I'd walk in the door, I'd sing the same songs, and I would hear somebody talk, and that was it. And then I would go home and my life would continue except for the one day of the week. It didn't translate. It didn't move beyond just a head knowledge and a knowledge of who God was. I didn't understand that it wasn't just here, but it was here. And when it's here, it begins, as He said, if God is God, then you're going to follow Him. Your life is going to be lived out for Him. Not perfect. In fact, Elijah is a great example of an unperfect legend. Because at the end, we're not going to go there today, but let's take it right now. After this great mountaintop experience with Elijah, the very next chapter, he runs into a cave and, woe is me, God, everybody hates me, and I'm afraid, and falls himself in a cave. He wasn't perfect. I'm not asking, we don't need to be perfect people. But we need to be people that say, you know what? Wherever God's placed me, in whatever area or reading, whatever passions He has in my life, I'm going to live my life tangibly showing the love of Jesus Christ. So that people who are undecided, people who have not committed, we are looking for God as tangible. We show our love. We build the equity relationship so that we can speak to them, share with them who Jesus Christ is and the hope that He offers through the death on the cross. We don't do a love lunch because we think we can feed every homeless person in hunger. We don't love people just because we think we can end their problem. We love people and show tangible love because if we can meet their need today, that's what we're called to do. Throughout the New Testament talks about that. Second of all, we do it to build equity. So we can speak into their life of why we do this. Because Jesus loved me and met my need, my spiritual need. So I will meet your physical need. I will seek to meet, we will seek to meet your emotional need. So help them with their spiritual need. The undecided need to see a tangible difference. So when Elijah said, let's see who God's real, let's light this thing on fire. I mean, that's pretty tangible. So all the people gather around. And Elijah says, Baal prophets, you can go first. So the Baal prophets, they get their dance on, they start getting up there, and it says, you go first. This is verse 25. Elijah says to the Baal prophets, you go first. There are many of you. Choose one of the bulls, prepare it, call in the name of your God, but do not set fire to the wood. So they prepared one of the bulls and placed it on the altar. They called on the name of Baal from morning until noontime, shouting, O Baal, answer us. There was no kind of reply. They were dancing, hobbling about the altar that they made. About noontime. So think about this. All the people of Israel up there. Alright? How about, I know I speak long sometimes. You're like, okay, like, let's get done. Like, I know. But all day, from morning to noon, people are like, okay, seriously, Baal, if you're going to do this now. I need to get home. Right? And so nothing happens. So Elijah steps up, good, godly Elijah who makes fun of no one, and says this. About night, Elijah began to mock them. He said, you're going to have to shout louder. He stopped. For surely he's a god. Perhaps he's daydreaming, or he's even relieving himself. You're like, for real? That's in the Bible? Oh, I told you Elijah's a punk, man. He don't mess around. All right? He's like, oh, maybe you guys going to the bathroom. Maybe you guys sleeping. You may need a little louder because obviously you haven't got his attention yet. Or maybe he's just on the way on a trip or asleep and needs to be awakened. So what they do? They shouted louder. And following their normal customs, they cut themselves with knives and swords until the blood gushed out. They raved all afternoon to the evening time of evening sacrifice. But there was still no sound, no reply, and no response. When I hear those verses, when I see that passage beside just the brutal nature of that picture that's painted, what I see is religion. Man's attempt to try to achieve or to get the attention or the approval of God. When we strive after trying to figure out, I want God's love, I want God's acceptance, I want God's forgiveness, so I need to work for it. And I need to keep calling out, see God, am I doing enough? Am I yelling enough? Am I sacrificing? They were literally sacrificing their very life to try to get this God's attention. And no matter what they do, it's still silent. Because the fact of the matter in our lives is not religious activity, it's not moral change, it's not behavior modification, it isn't how good we are to try to gain God's approval or to get God's attention. That was never the point. We can see throughout the scriptures, and we'll see the difference when we compare the Baal prophets with Elijah, that God already knew what was going on. That religion can never appease or please God. It is relationship. That Jesus Christ died, the difference is that we don't have to be good enough to get God's acceptance or His forgiveness. We can't be. We can't try hard enough. No matter how hard, how perfect I try to be, I don't know about you, but I'm going to fail. Have you ever been there like, okay, I'm never going to say that again. I'm never going to act that way again. Ever been there? And then, I'm like, crap, how'd that just happen? I'm there again. I'm in that place again. How did I get there? Because we are unperfect, broken people. And that God's attention is not grabbed by how perfect we are. God's attention has already been shown on us. God loves you and me. We don't have to grab His attention, or we don't have to garner His approval. Christ came and died on the cross, took my sin. He took my place. He already knew before. He came down and took my place and said, look, you don't have to get my attention. My attention's on you. I love you. I died for you. Accept me in relationship. Begin relationship with me. And in me, you will find peace. So many of us work hard and deal with so much guilt and so much shame. We work, trying. We've got to figure out God's approval. And we're like those Baal prophets all day, just screaming louder and louder, God, recognize me, find me, approve me. Look what I'm doing for you, God. And you don't have to. We keep moving forward. Then Elijah called the people. There was no sound, no reply, no response. Verse 30. Then Elijah called the people, come over here. They all crowded around him as he repaired the altar the Lord had been torn down. And it's just full of drama in that moment. Everybody is worn out. And then Elijah says, come over here. Everybody kind of circles around. All right, Baal's not showed up. Let's see if Jehovah will show up. They gathered around Elijah, and Elijah slowly takes and picks up and begins to build this altar back. And he takes 12 stones, reminding them of who they are and where they come from and the God that they once served. And they put those 12 stones back on to symbolize, remember who you are. You can imagine, just put yourself there. Remember that you almost get the sounds of the stones kind of slamming on each other, so you're building it back up. Maybe there's a silence now. It's evening. The air is starting to cool down, and people are just sitting there wondering what's going to happen. Now it's dusk, and Elijah has finally built this altar up. And there's an anticipation there. Just because, man, they've been here this long, something better happen today. They wait. And they wonder what Elijah's going to do. They didn't see these Baal prophets. They have done some crazy stuff to get Baal's attention. It's been silent all day. What's Elijah going to have to do to get Jehovah's attention? Verse 32, and he used the stones to rebuild the altar in the name of the Lord. I can almost think of the name of the Lord as he was praying, as he put each stone back into place. Then he dug a trench. We're like, okay, where is Elijah going now? What's he doing? And around the altar to hold about 3 gallons. He piled wood on the altar, cut the bull into pieces, and laid the pieces on the wood. Everybody's okay, I'm tracking with you, doing the same thing, all right, okay? Then he said, now I learned a phrase in Spanish. I actually asked him to translate, like, what the what? You heard of that? What the what? So I asked him, okay, all right? That's one of those moments, like, what in the world? What are you doing, Elijah? He asked him to take 4 large jars of water and pour the water over the offering, over the wood. All right, I don't know about you, but camping, the last thing you want to do is douse your fire in a lot of water. I don't know about you, I'm not an expert camper, but I do know that. If I'm finding wood and I'm ready to start a fire, we're like, protect this piece of wood. I don't care if anything else gets wet, do not let this wood get wet. And Elijah's over and said, hey, go get 4 jars of water, let's fill it up. Could you put yourself, you're a real person, they were real people, like, what in the world are you doing, Elijah? You're like, this is not the way to go. And first of all, it's been drought for 4 years. You're like dying of thirst. It's like, all right, go bring all the extra water and bring it in. You know why he did that? First of all, God had already told him it was going to rain again. And he had faith. He knew that even though he did not see it and there was no evidence around him, he said, I know that God will bring the rain. So no matter these resources are left over, let's give it to God and put it on there. And so he fills the altar with water and pours it all over it. And then he said it, and the first time people were like, well, that was crazy, Elijah. And then he says, do the same thing again. You know, I can see people like, oh, good. Seriously? Way to go. This is Jehovah's chance. And you're making it worse for him. Do it again. And he says, do it yet another time. When they finished, do it a third time. So they did it as he had said. And the water ran down around the altar, even filled the trench. What was Elijah thinking? This is his one chance to prove who God is. He's screwing it up. To me, you know what Elijah was doing? He first of all understood that he never has to be God's PR. Sometimes we're afraid, we don't answer the right questions. We got to make God look good. We got to make sure everything looks good. God, we got it all laid out for you. All right, now you show up. All right, nothing goes wrong. Because if something goes wrong, God can't handle it. All right. First of all, Elijah knew. First thing he wanted to do, he wanted to show a bigger God. I tell you what, my God. That's not a problem for him to light the fire. I'm going to douse this thing so much there's water trench around it because my God's a bigger God. Here's the truth of the matter. You're bigger than your impossible circumstances. This is the God that I want you to know. Elijah, I need you to understand, you've been confused for so long because you think they're equal. Let me tell you about Jehovah God. He's a God that even the impossible circumstances are not a problem for him. In your and my life, we need to understand that sometimes we've kind of shrunk the picture of who God is, and we think that if we don't have everything lined up and we're not perfect and we've got it all laid out for him, and if we screw up one time, well, God can't handle it. Let me tell you something. God is bigger and more powerful than even our greatest mind can imagine. We can think, yeah, God's pretty big, and if you could stretch your mind out and think how big God is, you probably have to scratch the surface of how powerful and how mighty our God really is in life. But I need you to know, after this day on Mount Carmel, I don't want you to have any more doubts. I want you to know the God that we're saying who is God, and it truly is God, is far bigger and more powerful than you can imagine. He can't even compare to Bel. It's just not that He can answer the prayer. He can do it in the impossible situations of our life. And so I tell you today, if your altar has been watered down and you've just drenched with problems or struggles, let me tell you something. There's a bigger God that can handle your situation. The water in your trench, the water on your altar, your life has been messing up, or you've been screwed up, or there's a lot of things going on. God is bigger than your problems. God's bigger than the impossible. In fact, we see in the New Testament, He says that I am the God that can do with God. There's nothing impossible for God. But you know what? I don't think to do with me. This is me. I don't know about you, but sometimes I forget that. Do you forget that? I forget that. I almost equate God with me. And I know my struggles, and I know my limitations, and I must think, you know what? God can't do anymore. So I've got to figure it out. Now, we may not say we think God's small. But every time I say, no, God, I've got to figure it out, I'm going to handle it without you, what I'm saying is, I don't think you can do something about it, so I've got to figure it out. Another thing about that is funny. I don't know about you. I don't know about it. But me, every time I try to figure something out on my own, it's never worked out well. But I'm stupid. I can do this time, God, and I screw up, and God's like, all right, so let me come back. I'm like, thank you, God, you're so awesome. I got this next one. And every day, God, I think He has a smile on His face, so He does love me. This guy's going to learn one way or the other. He's walking the wall and falling down, and He picks him back up. I love grace. But God's bigger than our problems. Whatever situation you have in your life, and He said, that's impossible. That's impossible. That's where God has to show up. So Elijah wants to say, hey people, do you confuse who God is? Let me show you a bigger God. Let me show you a God that can handle the bigger situations. Bigger problems, listen to this, bigger problems are a bigger opportunity to show Himself as a bigger God. Bigger problems are a bigger opportunity for Him to show Himself as a bigger God. Verse 36, an unusual time. Here's the key. Here is the key to Legend series. Here is the key for you and me to be a legend. You say, man, I don't have that faith right now. I don't know if I prayed God would answer. I don't know if I can believe Him on my big problems. Here is the key. Man, sometimes I get too crazy. I'm trying to stay calm. This is the key for you and me to live legendary lives. It isn't because we're perfect and we don't have problems and we have this, we're like these people floating on clouds. No, we're real people moving through real life. But the difference is, the key to be living in a legendary life is in this next couple words. You ready to hear it? It says this. I'm going to move down. All right, where am I? I lost my spot. I got too excited. All right. Verse 36. At the usual time for offering in the evening sacrifice. What happened with Elijah every day? See, there was a time in the evening, every evening, that they would offer a sacrifice to the Lord. At the usual time, Elijah says, now I'm going to give my sacrifice, because he's been doing it every day. Remember when Daniel was threatened to stop praying, and then Daniel went back to his place and said, at the usual time, Daniel prayed, because here's the fact of the matter. What we do in our usual will inspire us to do when it's the unusual. What we do in the common times of our life with God will give us the strength when the uncommon, when the big problems happen. We want God to move in our life and to move in the impossible situations. We want to be used by God to do great things. We don't spend the time in the usual, everyday relationship with God, so that when the big moments that happen, that we can speak into somebody's life, or we need God to move in an impossible situation in our life, we're not dealing with Him and relating with Him on an everyday basis. In the usual, the unusual will happen. In the common rhythm of relationship with God, your strength and your faith is grown. You understand the bigness and the greatness of God, because every day Elijah, at the usual time, spent time with Him. You and me, we don't have the strength, the faith, because we don't take the regular disciplines every day. We don't build a relationship. So when the crisis happens, or the moment that God calls us to take a big step of faith, we don't have it. Because we've not been living in the usual daily rhythm of the God of the universe. When I was a kid, I read the Bible, pray every day. I thought this little check mark had to do, and I was like, I don't want to do that, man. It's boring, and I don't get it, and I don't like rituals. All the people tell me what to do. But just honestly, guys, honestly, be real with you, in the last 3 years, especially on the sabbatical, God opened my eyes that these disciplines aren't just to appease God. They're not that. These disciplines put me in a regular connection with the impossible, powerful God of the universe. And as I spend time with Him every day in those disciplines, I connect with Him. When I connect with Him, He changes me. When I connect with Him, my faith grows. That when the moment comes, when the crisis seems impossible, when the situation seems dire, because I've been walking with Him daily, I have the strength to move forward. And when God asks the big step, leave what you know and go to somewhere you don't, and do something you're afraid to do, I know because my God has already promised me that He will go with me no matter where I go, that I can walk in that confidence. And that's why Elijah said, you know what? Go ahead and use all the less reserved water, because God's already promised the rain's going to come. And many of us are holding on to our last little bottle of water of the promise that we had a while back, and we're like, I don't want to let go of this, God. And God says, give me that, because what I'm about ready to show you is far much greater. God, I don't want to give my whole life to you. I'll come on Sunday, and maybe I'll give a little bit in the offering, and maybe every once in a while I'll even do something good, but I'm not ready to give my life. I don't know what you're going to, if I give everything, what's going to happen? What's going to be left? And God's like, just give me everything, and I got more that you don't even know coming your way. And I'm not talking about this, do good and God brings money down. I'm talking about you get peace and blessing and purpose. What we are all searching for. So Elijah, I love this. Elijah pours the water on there, and everybody's just anticipating. You cut it with, there's tension. All the bell prophets are sweating and kind of putting band-aids on it. I'm trying to figure out what's happening, what's going to go. And what's Elijah do? What's his going to be dance going to be? Elijah gets up, the fire. This is Blake picture, right? The altar's behind him. It's almost dark now. Elijah's voice is echoing over the mountain, and everybody's silent. And this is what he prays. He prays one simple, short prayer. What it says. O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Hear that just echoing as the people of Israel remember their forefathers. So maybe a little goosebumps in the air now as they're sitting there going, oh yeah, I remember that God. Prove today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant. Prove that I have done all this at your command. O Lord, answer me so that people will know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you brought them back to yourself. The silence of the prayer is prayed. It's so different what's been happening all day with people jumping up and down just saying, answer me. You can sense that when Elijah talks to God, he knows him. There's relationship there. I know who you are, God. I have a burden to show my people who you are. God, answer me. I almost demand, God, answer me, because I know you want this. This is where it gets good. I think it's almost pitch black now. The last words of Elijah's prayer is echoing over the ears of the people. All of a sudden, out of the dark sky, the Bible says that immediately the fire of the Lord flashed down from heaven and burned up the young bull, the wood, the stones, and the dust. It even lifted up the water in the trench. And when all the people saw it, they fell down on the ground and cried, the Lord, which in all caps, which in the Hebrew was the word Jehovah. They were not confused. The Jehovah is God. Can you imagine that moment? I mean, all of a sudden you can see him sitting there, and the prayer is prayed, and all of a sudden the echo, and all of a sudden, whoo! Like, you know what I'm talking about? These movies, the action movie, the action started walking away, and the big explosion happens. That's what I see Elijah. Elijah's like, da-da! And God doesn't just take up, okay, I'll take your little sacrifice. He burns the sacrifice, the wood, the stone's gone, like a scorch mark is left there. And God, and Elijah's like, and all the people are like, there's God. There he is. You know why? For one reason, people who are undecided want to see people who have big faith. Because if you have big faith, it means you have a big God. We live so timid and afraid that our life does not... If somebody says, hey, you need to follow Jesus, Jesus is awesome, and they looked at my life and I'm afraid, really, you got a big God, don't you? I don't see God. See, people want to try to see a big God, and they see a big God through a person that decides to have big faith. When God shows up, here's what happens. The world takes notice. Undecided people take notice. When People who have big faith, that believe in a big God, live it tangibly. The whole nation saw God move. And interesting, he just, like I said, it was a scorch mark left. Why? I want you to hear something. When you surrender and say, God, use me, I'm done doing my own thing, my life is a sacrifice to you, he shows up in abundance. He gives you all, he doesn't just like, oh, was that a lightning strike? Was that God? No. When God shows up, that was God. No question that. You want God to show up in your life? You surrender yourself completely to Him. Say, God, I'm yours. I'm not perfect and I struggle, but I am yours. Use me. Use my life to show the world that you are real, because you are the hope and the light that people are looking for. Use me, God, however. And God will show up in a greater way than you can imagine. He will not just take up the altar. He'll take everything. And you will be consumed, not in a negative way, but a person that your life will be full. And your life will be complete. And in Him you will find peace and purpose. He consumes all. So in the middle of summer, when it's hot outside, and maybe you're struggling in your faith, and your friends and your neighbors are silent because they don't understand who is God. God's asking me for you and me just to say, God, help my unbelief. Help me have big faith, because I want to show you as a big God. And let my life be consumed with your fire, that I live my life out in a tangible way for our community to see Jesus. Because I want, as Elijah wanted, as God wanted, we want every person to know the hope and the name of who Jesus is. He's not some religious practice, and He's not a bunch of rules. He's a God that died and loves us with every ounce of Himself. And the Bible says it's knocking on the doors of our heart saying, just build a relationship with me. In me you will find everything you need. That's it. Story of Elijah. He's a legend, man. He's a legend because he chose to have big faith in a big God. People saw him. Will you live like a legend? Will you seek and ask God for the faith to have big faith in a big God? And when you take out these doors, when you love people in tangible ways, that boss you can't stand, that coworker that annoys you, the family who has stabbed you in the back, the friend that's hurt you, those are the ones that need to see Jesus in you. Let's pray.